Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the start of the 2004-2015 academic year. It's been about 6 weeks since I've been here at Three Rivers Community College, and I just want to say a very hearty thank you to each and every one of you for the warmth and the welcome that you have given to me. It seems as though I've always been here. The transition has been smooth and seamless. And that's due to each and every one of you, because you've gone out of your way to provide information, to give me history, to help me out in terms of my transition into the institution. And so I just really want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I also want you to know it is an honor and it is a privilege to stand here before you as the president of Three Rivers Community College. I am delighted to have this opportunity. I look forward to working with each and every one of you this coming year to make it really a fantastic year here at Three Rivers. We have much to celebrate, we have much work to do, but with many hands and with open hearts, we can really achieve a lot. I also want to give a warm welcome to the new members of the faculty and staff. I know that Ann will be introducing the new members of the faculty, so I will not spend any time on that. I also want all of you to know that as we begin this academic year, we all have dreams, we all have hopes, we all have aspirations of what this year will be. And I just want all of you to know that working together, we can make it happen. We can, and we will. I am delighted that we have Mike Gargano, who is from the Provost, from the system office, who graciously agreed to be with us today. I think he will have information to share with all of us that will give each and every one of us a better understanding about Transform 2020 and how we as Three Rivers Community College fit into Transform 2020 and what that vision is for the system. So without further ado, I will introduce Dean Ann Briancini, who will introduce Mike. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mariella. We tricked you once. I want to introduce Mike Gargano, who is our new provost for the system, and he's the first Chief Academic and Student Affairs Officer that we've had in the system office since the change of the board and the merger of our boards. And so in a lot of ways, I think it'll be really helpful and important for all of you to know who he is, know a little bit about him, and have an opportunity today to discuss Transform 2020 and some of the major goals of the system. I want to tell you just a little bit about him so that you will know a little more and feel comfortable with him, I hope. Dr. Gargano has an extensive background in strategic planning, program development, and administration, and was most recently the Vice President for Academics, Faculty and Student Affairs, and the Dean ad interim for the School of Health Professions at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio, Texas. There he strengthened academic research and programs and put in place initiatives to support and recognize faculty achievements. The first in his family to graduate from college, Dr. Gargano has made increased access and affordability of college for low-income, first-generation students a focus for his work. Prior to his work at University of Texas Health Science, Dr. Gargano served as Vice President for Student and Academic Support Services and Chief of Staff for the Louisiana State University System, where he worked closely with the Louisiana Board of Regents. He was also the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Campus Life at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Associate Vice President, Student and Academic Support Services at George Washington University, held positions at University of Rhode Island and University of Hartford. He earned his bachelor's degree in Business Administration from the University of Hartford and received a Doctor of Education in Higher Ed from George Washington University. He assumed his role in March of this year, and I want to also warmly welcome Dr. Gargano.
Thank you. Oh, before you get started, Mike, We got some extra seats up here for people who didn't get one, so if you need a seat, or if your table has an open chair, please raise your hand. Anybody in the back who doesn't have a spot? We got some up front.
Okay, I was getting worried, this being like the first day of class and no one wanted to sit in the front. I promise you, there will be no test after today or anything like that. I am just as thrilled as can be to be here and have this opportunity to spend the day with you. What I'm hopeful is that we could actually turn this into a conversation. I have some formal comments that I'd like to make, but I also want to hear from you. And before I get into the formal comments, I want to wholeheartedly thank you, the faculty, staff, for everything and maintenance and everyone else associated with Three Rivers, for everything you do that makes Three Rivers just a very special place. Because I know how hard it is for these institutions and colleges to perform at the highest possible level. And I know how much you all go above and beyond the call of duty every single day. And for the most part, sometimes, I know President is here, and thank you earlier, but for the most part, sometimes your work goes by as unsung heroes. And I want you to know that those of us that are in Hartford, Connecticut, watch. We know what you are doing, and I want to thank you for everything that you're doing because the results really shows. Furthermore, I want to thank the foundation. We all know in today's world that state support will only let us go so far. It pretty much will let us turn on the lights and maybe do some other things. And so without this great work that our foundation and the community is engaged in, they allow us to maximize our potential and let us do the things that often we dream about. And so when you go into the president's office and say, I have this great program, and I got this great concept, and I got this great thing that I would like to do, and they say, well, where's the money going to come from? Well, the president walks 4 or 5 feet to the foundation office and say, can you help with this? So we want to thank you. I want to thank everybody in the community for everything that is going on here. Before I talk about Transform 2020, I want to speak a little bit on trust. I've been here since, give or take a few days, March 21st of 2014. So when I've been back in Texas and Louisiana, I was reading all about this Connecticut State College and University System and all these things that were going on in Connecticut, and kind of scratching my head a little bit. So although I'm new to Connecticut, I'm not naive to the circumstances that led to the consolidation and the mergers of the community college and the universities into this Connecticut State College and University System. Nor am I naive of the political environment that contributed to that. And nor am I naive to the political environment that would transpire over the next, 3 or 4 months leading up to November elections. I myself am very familiar with this, having been in Texas and Louisiana and other states of which the political environment is much different than what we have here in Connecticut, but much different because it's much worse. If you've ever been to Louisiana, I think Louisiana is known as a state that has more governors in prison than anybody else. Okay? And they're also known for a few other things that we don't want to talk about. And so there is this great deal of mistrust that goes on, and we see it in a variety of different ways. We see it in the funding for the community colleges. We see it manifest itself with the reformers and the education disruptors that believe that technology can take the place of face-to-face instruction. We see it also in the public sometimes questioning our being good stewards of public funds and how we allocate it and what we actually produce at the end, because they want to say that your graduation rate is this, and because it's that, you must not be using those funds all that wisely. And we also see it in this consolidation of this system, of which often we kind of question the role, scope, and mission of our institutions. So how will we build upon this trust, and how will we be able to move forward? I think first and foremost what's important is to recognize the main event. And the main event is at Three Rivers Community College. And that's the way it has always been. That the most important piece of this merger is to acknowledge that the main event being Three Rivers, because this is where all the action takes place. This is where the teaching takes place, this is where students enroll, this is where you become a community, and this is where Three Rivers Community College is fully ingrained into the community that it serves, and does it darn well. Right? The success of the system, the success of the Connecticut State College and University system is directly related to the success of Three Rivers Community College. In the same way it's directly related to the success at Southern Connecticut State University, because that's the way these systems that are big and complicated and complex, that's how they function. They function for the purpose of the campus. And so when we watch these Hollywood movies and these awards, many times they give out supporting actor and actress roles, but basically the system is the supporting actor, and you guys are the main event here. Knowing systems as I do, the three primary functions of a system is one, to advocate for the resources. It's to advocate for the resources for the campus to be successful. The second is to manage the political environment. No small things. And the third is to keep the outside influences away from the campus. Those are the three main things the system office does. Whether you're at the University of Wisconsin system, whether you're at the University of North Carolina system, LSU system, or any others, that's primarily what they do. Primary function of Three Rivers Community College is to focus all of its efforts on faculty, staff, and students. All of its efforts on those three. We here at Three Rivers belong to a system with strong leadership and effective board. Although our system has this very complicated political history, we know Three Rivers Community College belongs to a multi-campus system that expects us to perform. Trustees who expect us to take charge of our future and who give us the authority and the responsibility to make the most of ourselves. And I've spent a lot of time at our board, and spent a lot of time at other boards, and I can say that and mean it, that our board sees in you taking charge of your life. Have we resolved all the operational issues amongst the campus and the system? No. Will us from time to time, will you be challenging the system? Will you challenge me? Absolutely. But that's the ways of this world, because we're not going to agree on everything, but we can respectfully disagree where that may be. Even so, there is no doubt that Three Rivers Community College has the authority, the responsibility, and the opportunity to make the choices that will determine your success. I contend today that the problems and issues that we all face in higher education are much too complex and complicated. They're more complicated than any one person can possibly solve. And so I believe strongly in the concept and spirit and intent of shared governance. Shared governance that will provide the greatest extent possible of communication. The greatest extent possible to tap into the brightest minds that are here at Three Rivers Community College. To come up with the best creative solutions. And then make a decision. And that is the responsibility of the campus president to make a decision that is accountable. history tells us that unfortunately in many institutions there are silos. There are silos that prevent the kind of deep thinking that will enable us to reach the decisions that are appropriate for that particular campus. And so if they exist, I respectfully ask that today we start to think about knocking those walls down so that we can think of these issues and collectively we can move forward and solve them. So my friends, we are not known for expediency in higher education. I can't believe that. I've created my own bureaucracies in my own lifetime. We are known to create a task force. We create a task force to first see if a problem exists. And then we create another task force to question the validity of the first task force. And then we create the third task force, which is to say, but I wasn't included on any of those, so anything they have to say doesn't matter. We all know this won't get us any place. It won't get us any place because time is our enemy. Time is our enemy that we all face. If we do not take the appropriate actions, what we risk is that somebody else is going to do it for us. And we don't want that to happen. I have been on the other side of that coin. And it's not pretty when others think they know something about higher education. And so we want to be extra special careful with that. And so today I'm going to ask you all to think about some things and to give it the deep thought that is so important. Now I will share with you I do not have any of the answers. I have a lot of questions, but I have no answers. I can only help to guide you. But let me give you something to think about. A couple of weeks ago, I pulled some grades. Because in the system office, we have access to the Banner Student Information System. And I pulled grades for the fall 2013 semester. And particularly students that were college ready, that enrolled in freshman English and composition and freshman algebra, intermediate algebra. Okay. And what's surprising when I looked at all the grades is that some students did extremely well, A's and B's. But what struck me was the number of students that had D's and F's and I's and W's and W's. That it was almost a 50-50 split, right, with both of those. Now I know this is hard work. I've been in that classroom. And I know it's been handed to you, right? It's no small challenge to get somebody like me to teach me a foreign language, right? You have to spend a lot of time with me on that. And I know what it's like to have to begin at the start and help students understand math and English and all the other subject matters. But there's a reason why some students are succeeding and some are not. And I think it behooves all of us to take a good hard look at this. I've asked the president, asked the academic dean to take a look at it. And today I respectfully ask all the faculty to think about it as well. And to see if we can't come up with something that is a reasonable solution so that more students can succeed as we all go forward with that. Okay. What should we do on student debt? Is it possible to encourage more students to enroll full-time and to enroll in 15 credit hours? That might help them graduate faster. Can Three Rivers develop an accelerated associate degree program for some students that might consider going fall, spring, summer, and graduate? Is it possible to design the sequence of the academic curriculum so that more students who enroll in their first semester can actually take a survey or introduction course in their intended major? Because all the data indicates that students who take a course in their intended major persist and retain at a much higher rate than students that are allowed to go on some sort of journey. Right? My niece wanted to go on a journey. She called me, she's a freshman, well, she's a sophomore now, but she called me in her freshman year and she says, Uncle Mike, I'm thinking of taking this world survey course. And I asked her, I says, why? What do you need that for? She says, well, Uncle Mike, I have to figure out if the world is round or flat. And I told her, trust me, I've been around, and it is round. Okay. Are we prepared to guide students into academic programs in which they are more academically prepared? One of the particular concerns that I have throughout our system, there are students who accumulate an awful lot of credits trying to attain a grade point average to get into a degree program. And while they are going through this various process, they're using up all their financial aid and perhaps collecting a lot of debt. So I think part of our responsibility as adults is to be able to sit down with a student, and if it's necessary with their family, guardian, significant other, and say, I know you want to be a doctor, but I've looked at your science grades and they're not there. But on the other hand, I looked at your math grades and you have A's and B's. Do you ever think of becoming a statistician or some other field that's appropriate? And I think it's important to have that sort of question. Equally, I think it's going to be important when we think in terms of student debt that we give some serious consideration to the number of credits that are currently required in associate degree programs. Over a period of time, we've had excess credit hour creep that has, in many ways, will contribute to student debt. So I think one of the things that we can anticipate in the coming month is that I believe the Board of Regents will endorse and approve a policy that will require all institutions to evaluate their associate degrees and to see where it is possible to normalize those degree programs to 60 credits. Now, I know there are certain programs that we can't. Right? There will be some programs that we just can't get to 60, and we understand that. And the campus will be allowed to maintain those programs. But we'll have to go through a process. And so I want you to think about that a little bit as we go forward. What should we do with campus efficiencies? In my mind, we cannot be everything to everybody. In a perfect world, yes. In a perfect world, that would be a wonderful thing to do. But the way things are, we probably can't. And so recently, the board passed an academic program review policy that serves as a guide to help each campus to go and look at its academic programs and its menu of academic programs to see if they're relative to the community, relative to the industry, relative to the students, and relative to business and industry for employments. And you'll want to take a good hard look at that. And as part of that process, it'll be wise to look at low completer and low enrollment programs and see if we can make them relevant. There must be a reason why they would be a low completer or low enrollment programs. But simultaneously to that, we should consider new academic programs. I think Three Rivers needs new academic programs. Maybe energy, maybe technology, maybe other fields as well. And being the person who's responsible for approving new academic programs, seeing I'm making that statement, you got an ally, if you would just bring them forward as we do that. I think also as we think about efficiencies, you have to look at space, particularly classroom space. And I don't know whether we have enough space here or if we don't. That I have not looked at. But I think also when I looked at our system, and I visited campuses, it seems to me that Fridays seem to be a day at which we can perhaps better utilize some of our spaces, all right? And I think that's going to be critical. I think that's going to be critical as we go forward and help as we think about building this trust with the legislators and everyone else that we have to serve. And so I respectfully ask that you take a good hard look at your classroom and how class schedules get organized and whether or not we can think about having classes on Friday. What should we do with technology in the classroom? How do we combine the benefit of face-to-face instruction, team-based learning, self-directed learning, and the assets of digital content and open source management? Are there things that we can do that extends far beyond what we may be doing right this moment? I'll acknowledge that online courses are not very good. That they're really for the exceptional few because you have to be very well prepared, good time management, and many other skills. And so one of the things that I'm asking our system office is to consider what sort of testing should we incorporate and recommend to the campuses to better validate whether the student is qualified or has the skills to take an online course. And I think that will help us as we go on. What centers of excellence should Three Rivers consider? And what should a center of excellence look like? I think one of the important things to have a campus conversation this year is, are there centers of excellence that exist that can be enhanced? Or are there new centers of excellence that we might consider? And in what fields? And you define what center of excellence means. I'll share this with you. I posed this question to another campus in our system, and they wrote me back. And they wrote me back, every one of their academic programs was a center of excellence. So, please don't do that. What should not change? It's easy to talk about things that we can change and talk about and think about and all of that. But what should not change? What should not change are those things that are timeless here at Three Rivers Community College. We should cherish higher education. We should cherish learning for learning's sake. We should cherish the humanities. I'm a big believer that everyone should know something about Shakespeare. Everybody should know something about Chagall. Everybody should know something about the greatest artists in the world, the great museums in this world, the great writers in this world. Because I think at the end what it really means when you have a Three Rivers education is that education is well-rounded. That it hasn't necessarily just prepared you for one single type of profession or one single type of skill. With a Three Rivers Community College education has prepared you to seek all types of careers and all types of professions. A Three Rivers Community College education teaches all of us that upon graduation we have something greater to give. That we have something greater to give to our communities, and the same benefits and opportunities that were provided to us, we provide for those that are around us in our community as well. You all have one heck of a story here. and it's a great story that I'd love to champion along with your president. But we need to let more people know about it. What does all this mean? What does it all mean? How does it all relate to Transform 2020? Well, Transform 2020, as some of you know, was really an offshoot when President Gray came. There was a lot of conversation at that time that how come that institution up there in Willimantic, wherever they are, up north someplace, how come they were getting all the money and we were not? And the governor says, well, if you come up with a plan, we'll give you some money. And so President Gray worked on this Transform 2020, and at the time collaborated with the respective presidents. Transform 2020 has about 34 different initiatives. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the academic initiatives, which is really important to us. But as you think about these initiatives, think of them in terms of how are they important to Three Rivers Community College? And how do they relate to Three Rivers? Because certainly not all of them would get on your priority list. So let me just go through some of them. First one is establish and grow early college programs. And specifically, that is with dual enrollment programs. It is with P-TECH. And it's the early college programs that we have at our community colleges. Some 9th through 12th grade, others 8th through the 12th grade as well. And we think there's some strong potential with that as it would move forward, especially with the P-TECH. The P-TECH, if you're not familiar with it, this is a program that IBM started in New York and is taking nationally. And what happens in high school, the student will earn both a high school diploma and an associate degree. IBM is committed to provide mentoring to the student throughout the period of time in high school. Also, they're committed to providing an apprenticeship and internship. And upon graduation with the associate degree, you're guaranteed employment. And so IBM sees this as a natural progression to help with their employment opportunities as they go up. And we're expanding this into healthcare, technology, and a few other fields as well that you'll read about a little bit more as the fall semester unrolls. Cross-campus registration and admissions. Let me put the fear aside. This does not mean that students are going to apply through one common application and will simultaneously apply to all 12 community colleges. That's not the case. What the intent of this is to make it easier for students to apply, and the applications will then be transmitted electronically directly into your Office of Admissions databases. Okay, and the financial aid the same way. So remove some of the bureaucracy and might help a little bit with what's going on the campuses as well. You all are very familiar with Go Back to Go Ahead. That has been relatively successful to date. As of Friday, there were a little more than 700 students who actually had enrolled. We've had more than 6,000 inquiries on Go Back to Get Ahead. And we anticipate during this academic year, there will be between 1,200 to 1,500 students that will come back to be able to complete their degree. So it's been very successful with that. Veterans recruitment. Confess, I'm not sure Three Rivers is what they have with veterans recruitment, but there may be something there, especially with all the returning servicemen and servicewomen. Recruiting non-resident students. I was having an interesting conversation in this table over here that I was informed that there are a couple of private schools in this area that are making strong efforts to recruit international students. And there may be an opportunity for some of those students upon graduation to come to Three Rivers. So perhaps that relationship is stronger than I originally thought. So thank you for giving me some heads up on that. Improving opportunities for study abroad. Maybe not be appropriate. Academic advice would absolutely be an appropriate initiative for here at Three Rivers. All right. I don't think we can talk about student success without including some conversation on academic advice. Now, you all have about, give or take, 4,600 students. And I think the information I have, there's somewhere around six advisors, full-time advisors trying to do that. I know we have faculty that share in that assignment as well. But if you just did the math, 6 for 4,700, you'd shake your head and say, how can this be? Right? And I have worse on many other campuses. And so what I have prepared for our board is a model that would improve academic advising for their consideration. A model that at the community colleges would create one advisor, full-time advisor, professional advisor for every 200 students. And at the universities, it would be 1 to 300. Professional advisors would be supplemented by faculty. And so that especially all these students that are in undeclared majors, professional advisors can see them on a regular basis, supplemented by the faculty, so that in fact we can not only talk about academic advising in terms of class schedules and curriculum and majors, but we can also speak academic advising in terms of careers and other needs as well. Now, this is no small effort here, because this is about a $4 million need that I'll be asking for to help to address it. But you are in that list. First year experience programs. Your president has volunteered. So we they give me all these 34 ones that I was supposed to do. And after I worked out a whole bunch of them, I finally said to President Gray, I said, look, I could either do Transform 2020 every single day, forever and ever, or I could do some of this other work that I'm supposed to do. And if I do some of the other work, then I need to have some help from the presidents. And your president raised their hand, so thank you. Thank you very much. And the other presidents raised their hand. But this freshman year experience program is very, very important. And as you all know, the best program in the country, of which everyone tries to emulate, is at the University of South Carolina. Right? That's the model program. And so we're going to take a good hard look at South Carolina's program and see what aspects of it that we can get as best practices for all of our community colleges in our four-year universities as well. And I suspect as we go through that, there's going to be some budget requests that will come along, and we'll have to look at that as well. We have K-12 PA 1240, which my heart goes out to every one of you. This is quite a challenge, PA 1240. I have my own personal feelings on it that I will hold back on today. But it's been a difficult assignment to pick up from what the public schools have not been able to do for 12 years and ask our community colleges to make it up in 3 months. Right? Sometimes in a year. I don't know where this will go. I do know this Thursday we are making a presentation to the Appropriations Committee on PA 1240, to give them some update of where we were from this past year with the embedded and intensive model. If we might have some preliminary data to share, and where it is that we might go forward with the transitional model as well. What is clear to me on this is that we don't have enough money to do it. Right? We just don't have enough money. And therefore, our system and collaborating with our presidents are going to have to make the right presentation so that we get the right amount of funds to help these students that are graduating from high school, but certainly not college ready for math and English, right? And in some cases, science as well. Strengthen the liberal arts core. And I shared with you, I'm a big believer in the liberal arts, because I believe that's the foundation of successful institutions, and I think that's the foundation of a successful education. And so I hope we never get to the point where we minimize the importance of the arts. I hope we can certainly make it more than someone believing that we have to just go through these general education courses because BS tells us we have to have general education courses. That's not the value of this excellent education that you receive at Three Rivers Community College. So I'd like to see us think about the liberal arts core and perhaps even focus on writing. It would be nice to see that writing was in the curriculum throughout. Because it's through writing that I become a better problem solver. It's how I become a better critical thinker. It's how I become a better way to express myself. I also think it's important that when we think about the curriculum, that we give some consideration to, it's too late for this year, so it's maybe next year, perhaps where we can have all the students who come through summer orientation submit a writing sample, not on the computer. Okay? Where they actually submit a handwritten writing sample, 200 words, on anything they want to write about. And then at the end of their freshman year, starting their sophomore year, you'll give them another writing sample. You pull the one that they did in orientation and you'll compare them. And see if sentence structure is better. See if there's more coherence. See if it's more well thought out. Seeing if there's improvement. I think it'll be well worth a discussion over the next year whether something like that is possible. They made me do this in grad school. And you'll be amazed of what you write the first day of grad school and what you write a couple of years later and how much better you are. When they require us to write and you don't have the benefit of the internet for spell check and grammar check and sentence structure and everything else. Because I believe strongly that one of the key components of a liberal arts education is the ability to write. Faculty skill and development. There's nothing more important to us than our faculty. Faculty are the number one asset of any college. It is because of the faculty, because of the faculty research, because of the faculty publications, it's because of the faculty's respect for the profession that students come to Three Rivers. Because students want to be with you because they want to learn from the best. And you are the heartbeat of Three Rivers. So in my view, we need to do everything we possibly can to help our faculty become successful. And I'm advocating back in the system office that we need to create a faculty innovation fund that I'll manage. And part of this innovation fund will be to bring together clusters of faculty from various disciplines and various community colleges and universities. And I will ask you all to help me to help us better understand how we might consider instruction in our classrooms. Are there things that we all can learn from one another that would not only help instruction, help the student, help curriculum? Is there something that we can design that we've always said we would love to do it if I only had $25,000 to get this started? So I can do the research, I can go to the seminar, could I go to this conference? And so that's what I'm working on back with that. But without the faculty, we have no college. I know many people tell me on the other side that we're here for the students, and that is true. But we're informed by history that students come to the college because of you. No other reason. They come because of you, they come because of your academic programs, and they want to rub elbows with you. And I think when I looked at the history of Three Rivers and talked to some folks, nearly every single one has pointed out that what they became in life is because of you. Is because you took a special interest in that particular student. And I'll tell you my own life. There's no way I would stand here in front of you if there wasn't someone at the University of Hartford, an English professor, who told me it was time to stop plunging and start going to class. And I said to him at that day, no, I think you got it all wrong. And he says, no, Mike, I'm older, you have it all wrong, this is what you need to start to do. And I did, and I'm forever grateful to Dr. Weinstein for putting me on that narrow path, because he gave me the conversation that though my mother and father were having it with me, I was not necessarily listening. The faculty have a way to make you stand up straight and say, by golly, I better listen to them. Build state-of-the-art classrooms is another. Now, we're going through this very extensive IT audit, and Joe Tolosano in the system office is coordinating it. This not only includes building state-of-the-art classrooms, it includes other technology needs around our campus. We're preparing for a major bonding exercise in November after the elections with the state. I suspect that this IT audit is probably going to be upwards of probably $400 or $500 million request. This is what we need. When we look at the great disparities of technology on our respective campuses, it's substantial. The other one that we're doing, which would also become bonding, is deferred maintenance. We have quite a bit of deferred maintenance now that I've been through every single institution that equally is in that $500-600 million range. So quickly you can see how it gets to $1 billion, right? Most of which we'll never see because it happens behind this wall, right? But it's so necessary for us to be able to build our infrastructure if we're going to be able to move forward. There are other things on here such as blended learning and distance education. And I told you a little bit about what I believe in that. I don't think we should be quite in the rush to put everything online because I believe there's great value in face-to-face instruction that gets supplemented. And the other one that will eventually rise will be evening service hours. See, one of the things that we need to reconcile, everybody is saying we need to have more evening classes, more evening opportunities, and more weekend opportunities. Well, if you do, then dining services needs to remain open. Financial aid needs to remain open. Bursars needs to remain open. And there's a bunch of other services that have to remain open. That's where we need to educate folks to say, okay, if you want this, then these other sorts of things have to happen. I've been going on for a long time. Let me be quiet for a second. If what I've said hasn't sparked a question, then I'm going to call on you. And I know it's always hard to get the first question, so what we normally do is we just go directly to the second question. So who has the second question? Second question in the back. Yes, sir.
Can we expect further standardization of curriculum content in programs in the future? By that I mean, for example, we mentioned writing, will that mean we want to run all programs, or for business, that all campuses will have principals and managers, or, not the course content, but the curriculum content?
Did everybody hear that? Can we expect standardization in our curriculums? And I hope not. I hope not. I would hate to see that day come that we have standardization in the curriculum. I think that's one of the special characteristics of an institution is to be able to develop its curriculum and content as it sees best for its programs, right? On the other hand, you asked about writing, and I think there's a way to connect writing in all curriculum, including math. But it doesn't have to be the same way that Manchester's doing it, or any other community college. It's how you here at Three Rivers feel writing might be able to be incorporated in that. Okay. On that particular topic, I didn't reference it. Okay. Okay. I didn't reference it, but transfer and articulation is very, very important. Now, I made a change in some leadership. And so recently, Candace Barrington, some of you may know, she's a full-time professor at Central Connecticut State University. And Ken Kluchnick, he's a full-time professor in English at Manchester Community College. Both will be joining the system office for the next year. And they will have full responsibility for managing transfer and articulation so we can get this back on track. I think it's critically important that transfer and articulation is in the hands of the faculty. And so I asked for names and interviewed a bunch and selected Candace and Ken as being the two faculty members that I'll work with to try to get this moving forward in a more quicker way. But to go along with that, which sort of kind of relates to your question, is we do need to take a good hard look at our general education core so that the entire core will transfer to a four-year institution if that's the intent of the student. Right? What my fear is that when I look at the progress that has been made to date, I have a sense that what we're developing are basically 2+2 programs. A student that wanted to transfer from Three Rivers to Western Connecticut, there would be a set curriculum for that person. Or Three Rivers to Southern. When the intent of the legislation is for that student that wants to transfer to any four-year university within our system, all of those credits would be accepted, and that student would transfer with junior class standing, so that in theory, they only need 60 more credits to graduate. That got a bunch of hands in the back. Yes, sir?
Excuse me, are you including the University of Connecticut in that system?
The question is, are we including the University of Connecticut in this transfer and articulation? Probably not. And let me not, this is not a joking matter. I understand. I say not for this reason. The first priority is to be able to maintain the student in the Connecticut State College and University system, assuming we have the degree program that they want to pursue. On the other hand, if we do not have the degree program, then we should do everything within our ability to develop a 2+2 program with UConn that is specific to that major. Okay? Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a question with regards to going back to the professional advisors. Student services here has been understaffed for a long time, and sometimes that work interferes with breaking down the silos. It doesn't give a lot of time for people to be collegiate in a way that when they were fully staffed, we were able to do. There seems, the faculty here also advise some of us with over 100 advisees that we see, not only for registration advising, but for career advising, curriculum advising, etc. So my question is, if you bring in professional advisors, which I have advocated for a long time, will then the student services be allowed to assist faculty with counseling, which many of them should be doing anyway, as we see a growing number of people coming to the institution with very many needs? How do you see that working out? Where do you see the role of faculty in advising? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, ma'am. First, academic advising is complicated. It's complicated because it's relative to student body enrollment. Those students that enroll as undeclared majors, students that enroll as declared majors, students and adults that enroll because they want to pursue a cluster of courses to advance their career. And it's also relative to the type of academic programs we have. And so part of what my thinking was, and this doesn't necessarily mean it's correct, is that if we can supplement all the work that is currently going on with academic advising with additional staff of professional advisors, and I use the word professional loosely, okay, I should just say advisors whose full-time responsibility is to provide academic advising, that then is supported with the faculty, supported with your academic advising center. We might get to a point of where students, we can see more students, advise more students, and keep students on track relative to what we might be doing right this moment with a reduced staffing levels. And yes, I don't see these silos. All right, I think this is one of the real deficiencies we have in higher education, is that we allow these silos to get built and we say, this is mine, this is yours. Mike, you can only see the student at summer orientation because you're in charge of summer orientation. After they've registered for courses, this other group can now see them, but they can't see them while they're here, and that. And look, it doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work because we know what we get at the end of the day. And so I'm advocating for something that is much different. Now, I think that's the conversation you all need to have here at Three Rivers. Okay? I think you need to have, and I think part of that conversation, I was having this at Southern 2 weeks ago. Part of the conversation is how we think in terms of our enrollments. All right? Is it possible that we have more students who know what they want to major in than we actually give them credit for? And faculty, for those students, faculty are exceptional advisors. And undeclared, is there something that we can do for undeclared through academic advising that can help that student better and more timely identify a major that they might be interested in? So it's complicated, but I think that's the kind of conversation that needs to happen. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask a follow-up question with regards to tutoring and our learning resources? Much of the advising that the faculty do that is outside of registration advising is the request to go to tutoring, to get supplemental help, particularly because of what has happened with our developmental education opportunities for students. Currently, at least in my own personal opinion, our tutoring center, again, is very understaffed. Space utilization is hard. And I was wondering if any of the academic initiatives included resource distribution for tutoring and academic support services. Thank you.
It's a good question. Some of that is wrapped up into the academic advising. Some of it will be other efficiencies that we believe will be created as we go through Transform 2020. And there's probably a whole variety of other areas that I am unaware of right this moment. I asked a general question, you got a new math faculty member over here. So I asked her, what's her average class size? And she says somewhere around 30. Now I suspect many of you have 30 plus, right? And part of what we have to begin to understand, and I think this is what helps to make the compelling case of additional resources that are necessary for the classroom, right? In certain disciplines, yes, you probably can't have 30 students. You might even be able to have 40, maybe even 50. But in some disciplines, no, right? Some no. Some disciplines that has to be 20 students for an instructor, and no more. And maybe even in some of those disciplines, we need to think in terms of a graduate assistant to assist the instructor. And maybe there's a relationship that we can develop with our foreign university partners who have teacher education programs. Right? That some of that assignment for clinical and field work can be directed back to the community colleges. So I think we have to think in terms of what might be some new models that we can consider.
Yes, I'm with the engineering technology programs. I'm the program coordinator of the civil and environmental engineering technology programs. We're not just manufacturing engineering technology. Our enrollment is always somewhat lower than the other liberal arts and sciences and other programs. What can we, number one, what can we do to market our programs? We are the only college in the state of Connecticut that has all of these different engineering technology programs. And so we need some marketing. We are somewhat expensive because we need new equipment. And another thing is we are EPAC of ABET accredited. And the other colleges, for instance, Central, that has a civil engineering program, is CAP, ABET accredited, not EPAC accredited. And so it's a completely different program. I have tried to formulate an articulation agreement with Central, and the University of Connecticut has taken my students as juniors, not the School of Engineering, but another program at UConn. So the only place my students go to right now when they transfer is to UConn at this point. What can we do? So it's twofold. What can we do to promote engineering technologies? As you know, the President of the United States has said that the state of Connecticut has the worst infrastructure, the worst highways and bridges in the United States. Rhode Island comes in second. We are number one. We're going to have a huge infrastructure change in engineering technologies.
It's a long response. How about this? I want to introduce you to Karen Birch.
I know Karen very well.
Okay, who works with me. And I will schedule a meeting for the three of us.
That sounds great.
Ann wants to join us.
I would
Okay,
love that.
I'll give you my card before tonight's over.
Okay, thank you.
Today's over. Okay? No, but you're on the right track. You're on the right track, this whole concept. We're going to go here and then we'll go.
The fiscal budgetary funding model is about to change. I wonder if we discuss those changes and how it will impact institutions such as Three Rivers that have very expensive allied health and technology programs.
Yes, there's a couple of things. Did everybody get the question about fiscal funding those things. There are, within our community colleges, a number of very expensive programs that the state has asked us to provide, because the state has identified that there's a high need. Technology is one, nursing is another. What we're doing with nursing, and we're going to use this as the pilot, that eventually we will bring to technology, and we will also bring it to other allied healths. We created a nurse education task force. Ann is co-chair along with Mary Ann Kennedy from Southern Connecticut. And it brings together all of the institutions that offer nursing. Part of their assignment, in addition to looking at transparent transfers from RN to the BSN, is also to help us get a better sense of the actual cost to produce a nurse. And then our intent is to go to the legislature with a special request for a subsidy. Now, most states subsidize the institution for nursing. Texas, where I most recently came from, the subsidy was $16,000 per nursing student. Other states, it's closer between $10,000 and $12,000 that they get subsidized, in addition to tuition fees that the campus gets to maintain. The topic you're on is our board is extremely sensitive to it. They are well aware of this. And they support this initiative with the Nurse Education Task Force that I believe it will turn out to be successful, that then we will apply to technology in so many other areas as well. I do think in time maybe 3 years, but I think you will hear a lot more about this next piece, which is formula-based performance funding coming to Connecticut. I think similar to what many states in the South already have, including Florida, Texas, Louisiana, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and many others, that Connecticut, I think, will start having a conversation of funding that is based upon 3 main buckets. First bucket being all your fixed costs to open your doors and turn on the lights. Another bucket relative to enrollment, and another bucket relative to output. And they're actually going to be paying on the output. That's really where the big monies will be. And I think Connecticut will eventually go to that sort of a model. I don't think it's going to happen soon. I think you'll hear conversations about it. I suspect in October, when NCHEMS comes back and gives its presentation to the state, there probably will be a little bit more conversation on this. But this is it's quite complicated to be able to work through. But I suspect maybe in 3 or 4 years, Connecticut will look at it very seriously. They're not looking at it seriously right now, they're just having conversations about it. But you could look to see what Pennsylvania and Ohio and all those other states have with formula funding, but I think eventually it will come there. Other questions? Yes? Here we go.
I'm just concerned about the ethical issue in our mission that PA 1240 and the 60 credit limit to programs is creating. What I'm looking at is underprepared students tend to come from the poor socioeconomic groups, and if we limit programs to 60 and eliminate our developmental, then those students do not have access to the programs of their choice.
Let me put your mind at ease. The developmental credits won't count towards the 60. Okay. There has to be some understanding that with the 60, what should be included and what is necessary, but is in another bucket. All right? Freshman year experience might be one that's in another bucket. Because if I understand it correctly, you don't necessarily require everyone to go through a freshman year experience program, right? They can kind of select themselves in or out with that. So that's an example. Okay.
developed these articulation agreements with our CSU partners, and we consider the 60/120 credit. I do understand that some programs will have a little bit of a waiver there with the 60/120. But when we talk about developmental education, and you did put, some of my mind at ease with, we won't count those credits. But what about courses such as Math 137, for example? If we were going to up the math to 167 for nursing, Math 137 is a prerequisite. It is not a developmental course, but it also gets counted in our credit load. It's an accreditation issue, and it could also be an issue with credit counting.
In nursing, it may be very difficult to get the program down to 60 and 120. Right? It may turn out it's 124 at the end, maybe it's 128. But the way the policy is written in draft form right this moment, it allows for those exceptions. All you have to be able to do is validate that this is why it meets that exception. Okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir. You mentioned that you plan to be a champion for the liberal arts and humanities. As an anthropologist, I'm reminded once a month by Yahoo News that my discipline is among the 10 worst to major in. So I'm curious how you see the system being able to fight this public image of the liberal arts not being valuable as a college degree.
Well, first off, I would stay off of Amazon.com. Look, I don't think there's a silver bullet with this, but I think we all have to champion this in our own way. And I think when I listen to business and industry, what they all tell me is they want folks who can read, who can write, who are critical thinkers, who are good problem solvers, who are good communicators, who work well in teams, and all of those key characteristics. And isn't that what liberal arts helps us to get to? And so I am not, I made a reference in one of my comments about, I'm not a big fan of the reformers and the education disruptors who seem to believe that the way to solve the problem is to have better technology, or to say that we're not producing the type of graduates that industry is looking for. And so I think it behooves all of us in our circles to continue to speak out and to speak to the value of a liberal arts education and what that actually means. I think most people don't understand it. I think I came from Louisiana before I went to Texas. See, I've been in a hotbed of education. Right? So I have a board member who went out to dinner one night, and the server, he struck out a conversation, and he asked the server, "What is your degree in?" And the server said, "It's in English." And he said, "Why are you serving me?" He said, "Because I can't get a job." And the Louisiana board came back and says, "Maybe we don't need English." I know we speak Cajun. I understand this. Right? And we have shows like Swamp People and Duck Dynasty and all of this. Right? But we do have to speak English. And we have to be able to write it. And we have to be able to understand it. And so I don't have any sympathy for people who tell me that they don't have value in liberal arts and understand it and understand the importance of it. Right? And this is just counterintuitive to my education and my background and thinking about what constitutes a first-rate education. But I think we all need to speak out. And so I know since I've been here in Connecticut, we're sometimes because of what you went through, which I'm very respectful of this merger and all of those things, but we seem to be hesitant to want to speak up. And I think it behooves all of us to be able to speak up. Now, I'll be the first one to do it. I don't expect anybody to be in front of me. Don't expect you to be on my side. You can stand behind me, that's fine, and nod your head and say yes. But we need to do it. We need to do it. If not, what's going to happen? All right? What will happen, we will train people for a specific job with a specific skill. No more, no less. And then what happens when that job no longer exists? Then what will we do? And so I think there's far greater, more, and much more to an education than just training for a specific job. My nephew is an instructor at, I believe it's called Little League Tech, I believe up there by Quinnebach, is that what that is? Wyndham, I'm sorry, Wyndham up there by Wyndham Tech. And he shares with me just absolute horror stories. And he's in woodworking, right? Carpentry and all those sorts of things. And he's trying to teach his class how to read a ruler. Yeah, right? How to read a ruler. Know the difference between a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, and 3/4, and all of those sorts of things. Right? So it's serious what we have in Connecticut. And probably for a very, very long time, we have been hesitant to address what is the real core of the problem. Right? And so when we don't address the core of the problem, what happens? We end up with 1240. Right? This is what happens. End up with 1240 to say, I know who can solve it. Get those community college people. Those community college people can solve this problem. Right? And now you deal with it every single day. Right? And as I referenced early on, right, those students that are in composition and intermediate algebra, you see exactly what it is you have to deal with. Right? So we have others that are touting that graduation rates are up in high schools. And I say congratulations, but are they learning? Are they learning? So I have had my battles, obviously, in a number of states, because I don't believe in superficial. I don't believe in public relations. I believe in substance, and I believe in identifying what the problem is and let's deal with the problem rather than passing it on. The only way you actually make change is when you actually deal with the problem and everyone is forthright, and that's why it's important to have this shared governance. There was another question someplace somebody went to. Here, we'll go here, then we'll go back here.
I don't really have a question, I have an answer. Earlier in your discussion, you asked one question, and it was, how can we have a class where we have 50% of the class does well, and then 50% of the class does poorly? And having taught it for many years, that's always been one of my heartaches, is that we have such a division. But one of the issues I found, at least that's confusing me, is it seems that there's a lot of people who are capable of completing a class, doing very well in a class, and then they just stop going to class. And I'm wondering if that's because of the way we finance school for these kids, or if it's because we do not spend time developing some program for them to follow, so that after a short period of time in a class, they've either met some requirement and no longer need to go to school, for whatever their reasons are, or that we're just not giving them the tools that they need to continue on in whatever vein that they were hoping to go to. And that is a big loss for all of us, because we have people who can do the job and just cease to do it, they just stop doing it.
Did everybody everybody hear that? That the courses that I referenced, why is it that some students are successful and others have extreme difficulties? Why do some continue on? Why do some drop out? Should there be some sort of intermediate intervention, and perhaps other needs? It's I don't know all the answers on that one, actually. Okay, because it's hard for me just to look at a grade distribution and make anything of it. All right, so I mean, the grade distribution, so there were 730 students in 2013 that enrolled in English composition. All right? Just slightly less than 50% made a D, some form of D, D plus, D minus, D, an F, an I, a W, or no grade. And there could be many reasons. Maybe that some of those students were taking an equally hard course and they had to make some sort of a decision. Do I focus on my math and let composition go? Or do I focus on something else and let this go? Right? So the only way you can find this out is to pull the transcript. Right? Were there other circumstances in the person's life? Were there medical issues? Were there family issues? Were there other hardship issues that led to this? Are there other factors that I'm not, you would be the only ones that actually can dig into this and to see what you might find. You might come up with, there is nothing all unusual. But there's probably something there that gives us some indication. I mean, I'm particularly worried with some of this because it also relates to financial aid, right? So that a student, for example, that would have an N grade, which is basically to say that they did no academic work. Did they do academic work up to the 12th day? Because see, if they didn't do academic work to the 12th census date, right, then action should have been taken so the student would have become unenrolled. And then they probably would have had to give back some portion of their financial aid to the federal government. Right? I mean, so there's many pieces of this that I think you want to take a real serious deep dive that maybe, not that you want to create a task force. but you may need one, but keep the other two aside. There was a question, yes, sir.
In doing your initial analysis, you said one of your assumptions was that all the students were college ready. And in reality, some of our students, in fact, are not college ready. Do you have like to comment on that perspective?
That's very true. That's very true. So that would be one of the variables you'd want to go back. Right? Now, I don't know if you all look at high school transcripts. I know you're open admission, so I understand that. But maybe sometimes if we go back and look at the high school transcript and look at Gargano's grades, especially in English and math. All right, from the 9th to the 12th grade, do we see this sort of trajectory, or do we see Gargano doing this? And that might be an indicator. We might want to look at the assessment that is utilized at summer orientation to determine what class section, what level of academic preparedness Gargano really is, as opposed to what he's telling us. And maybe there are other criteria we should take a good hard look at. Right? I'm just making a general assumption that all the students that were in these programs were identified as being college ready, but that could be absolutely wrong. There was a, yes?
years ago,
Why do I feel like I'm being set up?
Some years ago in a previous life, I was working for a Blockbuster franchise in the days that VHS actually was popular, and did marketing with them. And not only did we have the individual franchise marketing operations, but we also had a regional marketing operation. And then quarterly, we would meet with Blockbuster corporate to learn what they were doing on a national level to piggyback onto it. Are there any plans for the ConsQ group to get a marketing team up in Hartford that develops a general theme for the whole operation, and then the community colleges individually to tag along to that?
Everybody hear that? It's about whether or not the system has a marketing plan and whether or not the community colleges and the universities would be able to collaborate with that. Prior to my arrival and prior to President Gray's arrival, the system had contracted with McGuire Associates to develop a system marketing plan, of which we received probably about probably just before, just as you came, I believe, right? A month or so ago. And Michael Kozlowski, who's responsible for public relations in the system office, is now meeting with respective campuses on developing a compatible marketing plan that would relate to the system's marketing plan that will get unveiled sometime in the fall. Okay. I think what's important with this is that, yes, perhaps the system has a function in marketing the Connecticut State College and University system. But the marketing has to be done with a great deal of sensitivity to not in any way override what happens at the campus. Right? Because at the end, the campus is the main event. And what I keep reminding many is that there's not a student that applies to the University of Wisconsin system office. The University of Wisconsin system office doesn't award degrees. And there's not a faculty member that I know in that Wisconsin system that affiliates with the University of Wisconsin system office. Everybody affiliates with the campus. And so I think, go back to my colleague here on technology, wanted to know how we're going to promote technology and various academic programs. What we really need to focus on is how do we raise within this environment, this region, the importance of Three Rivers Community College and Three Rivers academic programs. And I think business and industry plays a big role in that. I think business and industry can help us with that marketing. And so I think every industry of which we have an affiliation, it would be appropriate for them to include the Three Rivers Community College icon link on their website. And likewise, I think it would be very appropriate, where's my friend from relations, I met her this morning. I think it would be very appropriate if all the major corporations in this particular region had their HR link on ours, especially on the Career Services website, so that everyone can clearly see the relationship. But as students arrive, they can easily scour those websites and see the types of employment opportunities that are available in this particular region. So I don't think we can go at this alone. I think I have to believe we have to bring in business and industry. I think our foundation can be a huge help in this particular area with marketing and public relations. But it has to have a message, right? It has to have a message that will resonate with a wider audience. And the messaging needs to be through a variety of different mediums. And it needs to be continuous, right? Our friends up in North, they get an advantage because they have basketball and football. So people's associate because I'm good in basketball and football, I'm good in everything else, and not quite true. I can't say their name.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for coming. You mentioned earlier in your presentation that your desire for students to learn how to write effectively and the importance of reading and arithmetic, the algebra. And Professor Decker mentioned also about the transitional setting courses from PA 1240. And one of my concerns, because you mentioned the model of the University of South Carolina, how they have the model for first year experience. I was wondering, is there a model that we can emulate or implement in our college, in the community college system, that's taking place for a lot of these students that are being placed in these transitional setting courses? Because it takes them about a year to get into college credit courses. So, and a lot of the students get very discouraged. And I was wondering, is it possible that we have like a cohort system or something that we can implement that some of the other community colleges are doing? Because from a business standpoint, I'm afraid that, I'm concerned even more that when you look at it, what's going to happen to a lot of these students that get discouraged? Are they going to just leave? Is it going to affect our enrollment? Because many of those students, because of our high schools, because of the systems that our high school systems and the middle schools are on that level, they're not pushing our students in on an educational level. What's going to happen to a lot of these kids? And is there something that we can model so that we don't end up in this same rut where cards, the wheels just keep spinning and spinning, and we're losing out on many of these students in the long run? Thank you.
Very, very good question. I think there's a couple things to consider. I think as President Jukoski heads up this first year experience program, and Elsa Nunez heads, and David Levinson head up the PA 1240, that they need to join forces, so that we better understand the best practices that are national, but also what best practices are starting to rise within our community college system that then can get implemented across everyone, okay? This is critical because one of the complaints I have heard from faculty is that right now with PA 1240, we allow each community college to determine its own multiple measures, right? And we allow each one to determine its own range of score for the multiple measure. Which means, more than likely, when I eventually get this data, it's going to be skewed. And it's going to be very difficult for someone like me to determine whether Three Rivers has the best program or Capital Community College. And so the conversation we're having now with Elsa and David and Sandra Palmer, who's the chair of that advisory committee, is to begin to think over this next year, where can we identify some sort of standardization with the multiple measures? That you still have the freedom to select the multiple measures that are important to Three Rivers, but we should better define what they are and what the range of scores are to get into embedded, intensive, or transitional. Right? So that will start to rise, and you'll hear more about that. The second one, which I'm in a rowboat all by myself on this, is I think we need to rethink the 12th grade in high school and the 11th grade. Now, for all the not so good, Louisiana did do some good things. And one of the better things Governor Jindal did was to require all students in the 11th grade to take either the PSAT or the corresponding ACT, and the state paid for it. All right? What it did was provide early on the indication of the student's readiness in math and English. Then, what the state did, they required us as the university systems to adopt and work with each high school and develop both a summer program in between 11th and 12th grade and a program in the 12th grade to get more students college ready before they actually graduated. And the state paid for it. And we started making enormous strides with that, so that It wasn't left upon graduation that LSU A&M or LSU Alexandria or Shreveport or one of the other regional campuses was going to be left to try to get a large number of students college ready. And I've had these conversations, and sometimes people look at me glassy-eyed and say, well, I don't know. But I think I would continue to have that conversation. I have my friends at the College Board meeting with the various representatives of the governor's office to talk about this. And one of the conversations we will have on Thursday at the Appropriations Committee is with dual enrollment, of which this lends itself nicely, is to better inform the legislators that if you want us to do this, we need an infusion of capital, because you can't expect the community colleges to pick up the cost of dual enrollment. Right? Now, back in Louisiana, what they allowed us to do is, one, the community college can include the student credit hours in the head count in its enrollments. And the state reimbursed the college or the university $300 per course. Right? Now, I didn't cover all the expenses, but it was something. Right? It was something to get started. So I think a combination of those two is what we need to think about. Yes, sir.
Mike, I'm going to take you to task. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My background is in technology, management, and education. And I can say that the students we're turning out today are not so narrowly focused that they're going to take a job that's going to disappear. You were talking about the liberal arts, and don't get me wrong, my undergraduate in physics, they were necessary evil. When I got into my late 20s, early 30s, I started appreciating the value and went back and did extensive studies to apply to areas that I was interested in. When I asked my students, why are they in my class, I get two answers. Either to transfer or to get a job. And the data, as I understand it, is about maybe at good 1 in 3 of our students transfer. 1 in 2 disappear. They register and then they leave with nothing. The point I'm asking is we need greater flexibility by you and by the regions in terms of developing advanced vocational 2-year degrees. And right now, there are tremendous impediments toward doing that. It requires flexibility, it requires integration, cross-discipline integration. I hope I'm wrong, but I was told by one of the math instructors here, students don't see trigonometry until pre-calc. Trigonometry is a critical component of technology. And pre-calc is relatively rare in most of our degree programs. So when we talk about the future of students, we can graduate a lot, put them into a 4-year program, and when you have this figure I saw actually for 2012, 47% of the students, or not students, of the people who were working at minimum wage had a college degree. Those students at that point, on average, had $25,000 in debt. It seems really disingenuous to be preparing students for minimum wage job at that level of debt. What are you doing, or what do you think you can do to focus on that advanced vocational development?
Well, 2 things. Let me talk about student debt first. I'll do it in reverse. Part of student debt, we have to understand that it's a cohort of students that only represent those that borrow from the federal government. The second part with student debt is to unpack the 2 main components. And so the main components, in my view, of this world are, 1, education-related expenses, and And those are expenses of tuition, fees, and books. The second component are relative to student lifestyle. That's the five-star residence hall, the recreation center, the climbing wall, and dining commons, and all these other sorts of things. And so when we unpack and we actually look at the educational expenses, we'll see the debt is not nearly at $25,000, of which most of those studies are relative to universities. And so we get a much different picture. The second part which students get is to understand it relative to socioeconomic standing. And so when we unpack it relative to socioeconomic standing, we get a much different picture when we start to disaggregate it for students with family income of $35,000 and less. It's not $25,000 a year, as all these studies tell us. It also changes when we get to $50,000, $75,000 in other increments. Equally with this is that when you get to socioeconomic level of $125,000 and more, in more cases than not, the family is willing to borrow for education, even though they can afford to pay it. Because the economists tell us, and their financial advisors rightfully advise them, it's better to use their money and purchase stock, invest in the stock market, and borrow these other funds at a real reduced rate and pay it off later on. So we have to understand student debt. All right? People try to, in all these articles that float every day, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the Chronicle and Inside Higher Ed that I constantly write to every single day, we have to be able to unpack it to understand it. It's a good article the other day in the Chronicle about Pomona out in California on financial aid that you ought to take a look at one time. Now, specific to vocational programs, I'm unaware of any obstacles on my time in the system office. And so you bring the program forward through your channel, and I'll get it done. And I think we probably need more vocational programs and we need more certificates. What I'm advocating for is that we have well-rounded graduates. That's what I'm advocating for. Well-rounded graduates. But I think that's compatible to what you're saying. Yes, ma'am. Last question.
First of all, I would just like to say that you're pretty much a breath of fresh air. And I thank you for that. I've actually enjoyed professional development. The second thing I would like to ask, and I certainly don't mean to put you on the spot, but how much support do you have for your ideology and your educational philosophy at central office? How much support for your philosophy and ideology do you have from our presidents and our academic deans? I think I'll stop. And just thank you again.
Thank you. You're much too kind. Thank you. Look, I've been in higher education now for 34, going on 35 years. I have been very lucky in my life that for the most part I have worked for 2 college presidents. I started at the University of Hartford with Steve and Joe Trachtenberg, and then worked there probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years, and then from there went to George Washington University with President Trachtenberg for like another 16. To this day, he's still one of my great mentors, great friends, and we go back and forth every week. And one day I was having a conversation with the president and says that, not that I'm tired of you, Steve, but I think I kind of want to learn public education, because this is right around the time that states were reducing its support for public education. And he said, well, look, if you want to learn, the best to learn from is President Lombardi. And John is the president at the University of Florida. And just so happens that John is leaving Florida to become the president at UMass Amherst, and I don't know, a couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks later, up at UMass Amherst as John's vice president, and then went with John as his vice president and chief of staff for the LSU system. I say that because I'm the beneficiary of two of the brightest minds in higher education. If you want to read a very fascinating book, President Lombardi's How Universities Work, it's pretty good. It's put out by Johns Hopkins Press. And if you want to read another interesting one, is President Trachtenberg's is Why Presidents Fail. But along the way, between the presidents, between faculty, and others, I've been able to shape what I believe is my philosophy on education. And my philosophy is not right for everybody, as I've been told. But I have convictions. And my values are wrapped in my convictions about education. My values are very hard for me to compromise with on education. So I'm a firm believer into doing what's right. Keep doing what's right until somebody tells you they don't want to do it right anymore. Or somebody has one of these reformers or education disruptors tells me that they have a better way to do it. And I'm happy to listen, but by golly, it better be better. And it better not be better because you just told me that it's better. Right? Isn't this what happened with charter schools? Right? So isn't this what we see all over? Look, I was in Louisiana just right after Hurricane Katrina, right? They wiped out all the public schools and put in all charters. And so the result of this is that the charter schools, yes, some are successful, but they're no more successful than many of our public high schools. And some charters fail, let's say it the same way as some of the others. I guess in my time, I've been willing to talk about what nobody else wants to talk about. But I think that's what kind of makes some people, and believe me, I've suffered the consequences from doing this many times, but I think it behooves all of us to be able to support our profession in the way that we believe in the profession. And continue to do what's right. Today, what I see is a group here that is as committed as, because I can tell by the level of the questions of how committed you are. And I think our students are the beneficiary. I'm really happy to work with President Jukoski. I was on her search committee. I remember having breakfast with her one day. Right? And I'm convinced that she's the right person to lead Three Rivers. I've worked closely with Ann, and I can tell you she's as good as an academic dean as I've worked with any place I've been. I've been at seven different institutions and systems. Okay? And so presidents are wrestling in many ways because my position has never, ever existed before. So they've wrestled with what is this provost? What is this senior vice president for academics? What does that mean? But what it means is that I am sensitive to the campus because I've been on the campus. I've been on some of the best flagship universities in American higher education. And I know what it means when the system office came knocking on my door and I didn't want them knocking on my door. And I know what it means when the board comes knocking and I didn't want them knocking on my door. And so I have a simple rule, which is two rules actually. One, which is to never show up on a college campus unless I'm invited. Right? I won't do it. And if I'm invited, president and say, is it okay? Is it okay if I do? The second rule I have is to never to mislead, misinform, or misdirect. Right? It would be easy for me to stand up here this today and told you everything that you probably would want to hear. And I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight because I wasn't true to my convictions. So I share with you with an open heart. And you should know that you have my support. You have my support. I think the only way we get through what we have to get through is to be able to speak to one another honestly and openly. And we do it with our ears wide open. We try not to overtalk one another so that we could all really seriously understand what these issues are, and we'll figure out the best way of how to go forward. So I thank you for having me today. I wish you the best.
Mike, thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning, to share your expertise, to share your values, to share what you will hope will happen to the system. And as a new member of the system, I can tell you, Michael has one concern, and it's all about what's in the best interest of students. And that is very heartwarming when you're discussing academic issues. It's not about policy, it's not about procedure. It's what's best for our students. So thank you for being student-centric. How about if we take 10 minutes for a break, come back and get some information. I invited Michael to stay with us and circulate around and be here for lunch if he has the time. So, thank you. Thank you to those of you who asked questions. I thought the session with Dr. Gargano went incredibly well, and it went well because we had a very active audience. So thank you all very, very much. I have some remarks that I would like to share with you because some of you I have not met. So if I don't get a chance to meet you, please swing by my office. I intend to roam around the building, so I may stop by your office because, as some of you know, I like to go to meet with you in your office rather than having you come to my office. But let me just share with you a little bit about my expectations, what I see as the priorities going forward. Now, the priority list may change, and because we may add things to it as the year gets going, but I just think it would really be helpful as we start the year to have a sense of what I see are important priorities here at the college. Mind you, I've been here about 6 weeks, so I've had an opportunity to get to know some of you formally and other of you informally through our Thursday lunches, which I have enjoyed immensely and look forward to in January. And thanks, Sue, for providing frivolity and good food and a lot of laughter. We've had a great time getting to know each other, and I would just say if you're around in January, come to the Thursday lunches because they're a lot of fun. As I look at priorities for the year, I'd like to talk about them in this manner, and then I just want to talk about my expectations. First priority is that we must strive for academic excellence and quality. Quality in academic programs, student life, academic advising, and academic support programs. This will help to attract students and also to retain students. Second priority is we must continue to increase student retention and graduation rates. You will see in Transform 2020 there is a big push on student retention. And that's something that is going to take a whole community here at Three Rivers Community College to make happen, as well as graduation rates. The key is to engage students in the classroom, to engage them outside of the classroom, to encourage them to belong to academic clubs for each of the departments, along with involving them in student activities. And I've met with our student activities, Rhonda and Jacqueline, and they've got a host of activities for students to participate in. We had a wonderful orientation last Thursday. A lot of students who are just very eager to come to Three Rivers Community College, so I hope we can build on that enthusiasm, as well as a number of parents who were here. I was surprised at the number of parents who showed up last Thursday. We went through 44 boxes of pizza, and we still could use more pizza. So that was really great, good. Third, we must continue to work together as effective team members. We must communicate openly, address concerns honestly, and solve problems collaboratively. We must work together as a team, remembering that we have one goal, to educate students. I am confident that each of you will do your part to make this a personally satisfying and professionally rewarding year. I want to commend each of you for your dedication, and I thank each of you for your commitment to the college's mission of educating students. We also need to speak with one voice and involve all members of the community. Silos between areas must be diminished and bridges must be built. This is a new day, it's a new chapter in the life of Three Rivers Community College, and I am confident, working with each and every one of you, we can not only make Three Rivers Community College good, but a great institution, and that is my goal. In addition, I'd like to share with you what my expectations are, and my expectations can be shared in the word care. And what I mean by that is communication. I will do my best to communicate with you, top down, bottom up, horizontally, and vertically. I believe in transparency, I believe in shared governance, and this particular fall semester, the governance document needs to be revised. I want your participation in the revision of that document. June and Vicki have met with me. I am committed to shared governance, and I want your commitment also. Secondly, the next word is accountability. I believe each and every one of us is accountable for the work we do for this institution. And it comes down to no excuses and no surprises. I expect the utmost of each and every one of us as professionals, and I know you are professionals. So together, I know that we can make great things happen. The third word is R, and that is respect. Mutual respect among and in between each other, as well as responsibility. I will communicate, but it's your responsibility to make sure you read the emails so that you're in the information flow. Megan and Kim will be working with Megan to make sure that information is posted so that it's readily available to you. You will get information that comes down from the system office. You will get copies of Transform 2020 so you can see what's really happening. You can see the metrics that we are being required to be measured on. It's really, really important, and I can't stress that enough, that we as a community are knowledgeable about Transform 2020, that we incorporate those pieces of Transform 2020 in our strategic plan. The Cabinet this past week had a retreat to look at the strategic plan. We have a draft document. It needs some work. Hopefully by the end of September, you will get a copy for your feedback and your input. The third word that I'd like to emphasize is excellence. It's really important that each and every one of us strive with our students for excellence. Students are hungry. They want to learn. We are here to provide them with a learning environment that is supportive, that is helpful. But I also think we want to set the goal of having them strive, raising the bar for excellence, and then role modeling that to each and every one of them. Because we are preparing them as lifelong learners, we're preparing them for the workforce, we're preparing them to be leaders in our society. And we have a role to play in making sure that they see themselves as students who can learn, who can achieve, who can grow, and who can be excellent at what they do, because each of you are excellent at what you do. I look forward to working with each of you. I ask, if you please get a badge if you don't have a badge, because we're a large community and it's really helpful for new students to have an understanding of who you are. And that was a paid announcement by my colleagues, Mike Lopez in particular. And lastly, I would like to say my door is always open. If there's an issue, a problem, or a concern, feel free to stop by. But I do have one caveat, and the one caveat with having an open door policy is that if it's an issue with your supervisor or if it's an issue with your dean, you need to speak to that person first before you come to me. I don't believe in doing end runs, but I believe that you need to make sure that you communicate openly and honestly, and I have one confidence for all of us. We can work whatever problem comes up this year with a positive attitude. And please, have a great year. Enjoy coming to work. I mean, people who've been working with me in the past 6 weeks, I love to come to work and I love people to finding a workplace be enjoyable. So as one community, let's go Three Rivers. Let's have a great year. Thank you all. I forgot the most important thing. Every year, I start the year off with a poem someone gave to me. And the poem, I don't know who wrote it, but to me, it just sort of makes me feel really good about starting an academic year. And the poem goes something like this. The students are the most important people on our campuses. Without them, there would be no need for us. Not cold enrollment statistic, but flesh and blood human beings with emotions and a need for guidance. Not individuals to be tolerated as we go about our business. They are our business. Not totally dependent on us, but our jobs are totally dependent on them. Not an interruption of our work, but rather the purpose of it. Yes, students, the purpose of our work. Have a great day, everybody. Dean Ann Brinke.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. I don't want to spend a lot of time because I could never give as much credibility to our academic goals as Dr. Gargano did. So I only will repeat a few things in terms of what the overarching academic goals for the year are. But what I did want to spend time with was introducing the new members of the academic division, and I'm hoping that they're all still here. I know they were earlier. At any rate, we have two members joining our English department. Vicki Holdridge. Vicki, can you stand up? Vicki is a full-time tenure-track faculty member here who will be teaching English as a second language and working with the English as a second language curriculum and our students in programming. She has 12 years of teaching experience in the United States as well as abroad. She's lived in many different countries and has worked in different places such as the U.S. Embassy in Peru, all the way to the University of Rhode Island, and now she's with us. So I'd like to extend a welcome to Vicki. Also joining, yes.
I told you she was an anthropology major.
Yes, Will. And she couldn't get a job, so she went back to school. Just kidding. Sorry. You set yourself up. Also joining the English department is Andrew Marvin. Andrew? Andrew has bachelor's and master's degrees in English with an emphasis on Rep Comp and will be teaching writing courses with us. And Andrew's worked as an adjunct here and at Sacred Heart University. He has 14 years, if you can believe it, 14 years of teaching experience. Wonder what kind of eye cream he uses. He's a well-regarded teacher of English as well as a 4th degree black belt martial arts instructor and certified instructor of yoga, which will inform his which informed and helped define what was described by one of his references as a commanding and centered teaching style. I can't wait to go to one of his classes. Can't wait. Anyway, welcome. We have a new member of the math department. Beth, can you stand up? Elizabeth, Beth, right? Beth Godwin is here to teach math and the full variety of math courses in our curriculum. She has a degree in math and statistics from Miami University and Central Connecticut State University. Has 10 years of experience teaching college math as an adjunct in community colleges and universities, and 13 years of teaching high school. Also look good after all those years. Welcome. As usual, we have a lot going on in the nursing department. There are 3 new faces to welcome this year. Some of you know Judy Albright is out for at least this semester on medical leave, and so we have Krista Prendergast. Krista, can you stand? Has a long-standing relationship with our program. She's been an adjunct for quite a while, a clinical instructor as well as a nursing lab instructor, and she will be teaching in the med-surg courses with us. Also Cindy Arpin. Cindy Arpin, who was one of my nursing students when she graduated in '94. Cindy will be backfilling the position that's vacated by Edie Lett. Edie is a nursing faculty member who is serving in a full-year appointment as our interim director of nursing. So Cindy will be backfilling the position that Edie filled. And Cindy has worked mostly in area healthcare organizations, Bacchus Hospital, Uncas Health District, United Community and Family Services, and has worked as a clinical adjunct faculty in our nursing program. Maria Sparmer. Maria? Will be a full-time lecturer in the medical surgical part of the nursing program. Maria comes to us most recently having been a professor of nursing at Capital Community College. She received her bachelor's degree from Central Connecticut State University and master's degree from University of Hartford, but perhaps most importantly, her associate degree from Capital Community College. She's worked with our students as a clinical adjunct from 2000 to 2004, so in many ways it's welcome back, Maria. Also, I'd like to introduce Tracy Dixon. Tracy. Tracy's working down in a yet unnamed division of Jody Calvert. We've bounced around a few different names. Very entertaining. Jody and Aaron will be working with Tracy. Tracy was hired in August, and she's the coordinator of our National Association of Concurrent Enrollment Partnership Program, NACEP, heretofore called NACEP, program here at Three Rivers. And many of you program coordinators have received some communication from my office regarding the work that we do with CCP and how that will morph into the work that we're going to be doing with NACEP. So between Aaron and Tracy, many of you will be working with them and curriculum. So that is, I think, the extent of the new faces that I have to introduce. I just wanted to remind you of a couple of things. September 10th, I believe, is our town hall meeting for Transform 2020. So it'll be a little bit of a follow-up to some of the things that Dr. Gargano talked about in a more structured setting. The academic goals for the year, as you know, will be focusing mostly on student retention at the course and the program level. We're going to do a lot of curriculum and academic assessment in a lot of different venues this year. So I really look forward to working with all of you on that. We also will be working on the implementation of TAP, and there are many individuals in the room today who will be working on some of those pathways. So I look forward to really helping move our curriculum forward with your help, as well as all the work that will not be necessary for the normalizing our credit hour for our programs. We have gen ed assessment led by Professors Mike Stutz and Joe Salvaggio this year. Multi-state collaborative is led by Professor Terry Delaney. Where's Terry? Over there. They just had a meeting a couple days ago in Central Connecticut State University. Program assessment will be conducted by program coordinators with the assistance of the department chairs and then again our NASEP accreditation. So we have a lot of work to do, but I'm looking forward to getting going. I think it's going to be a great year and I look forward to working with all of you. So with that, I think I need to turn this over to Christine Langen.
Hi everyone, and welcome back faculty. I'll start with staffing changes in the Student Services Division. First, of course, I'm here as interim dean of students. Betty Williamson will be interim registrar. I'm sure the registrar's office will not miss a beat with Betty. We have a new employee, Lindsay Ismorelli, in our, is she here? Yeah. Oh, you are. Lindsay's working in our advising and counseling center, and in the short time she's been here, we're already all dependent on her. Rashida Parker received tenure this year. And Jacqueline Phillips earned her doctorate in higher education and leadership this year. I'm going to talk about a few of the things that Student Services is working on this year. We're in our second year of our Comcast grant. We've enrolled 65 first-generation minority students receiving financial aid into a program that provides numerous supports for them. This community has weekly meetings, full of part-time tutoring every day of the week. They have transportation to cultural events and speaking engagements. And last year we did well. We have 45 of the 54 Comcast students from our last year's program returning, so hopefully this year will go just as well. Talking about transportation, our bus route from southeastern Connecticut has been reinstated, and it's 70% subsidized by SEEP directly. So I'm proud of Our cashier's office will be selling bus passes, making it very convenient for the students. And financial aid refunds are being applied to bus passes if necessary. So that will all be a little bite out of our transportation problems. I'll mention multiple assessment as it's evolving every year. As you know, we started several years ago, we depended totally on active placer scores, rigidly placing according to the scores. Then PA 1240 came into effect, and the pendulum fell the opposite way, and we did almost no testing for a year. This year, we're testing certain groups, students who have graduated more than 5 years ago, students who graduated within 5 years but have GPAs of 2.5 or less. And we're using those active places scores in conjunction with SAT scores, ACT scores, and their high school records. In the high school records, we're looking at the level of the courses, the grading, and as Dr. Gargano said, whether the trend was going up or down. We're also using some non-cognitive interviews to see how the non-cognitive abilities of the student affect their placement. It's not a science, but we're working on it. The math and English department has spent a lot of time with us, helping us, giving us guidelines for the different multiple measures that we use, and we'll keep on working with it. Our advising and student development and student activities programs have a wide variety of activities this year. Our academic advisors are running workshops. There's a schedule out straight through November with a variety of things. They're emphasizing career skills, study skills, of course. There's even a lecture on emotional intelligence. So encourage the students to join us. The workshops are excellent, but we don't get enough students to join us. Student programs, as somebody else mentioned, has a wide variety of activities. They're starting some new ones this year, including a winter ball. and they'll be helping us with a lot of Title IX activities, which I'll get to in a moment. And maybe I'll get to Title IX right now. Title IX and the Campus Safe Act are both addressing sexual misconduct. They've widened the definition of sexual misconduct to include harassment in the workplace or anywhere, assault, stalking, and intimate partner violence. We will be complying with all their regulations because we want to keep our students safe. We'll be encouraging students to report any misconduct. And because of that, there'll be a multitude of training and materials available for all of us so that we know what to do when a student does report or disclose to us. We want our response to be victim-centered, and we don't want to do anything to make it harder for a victim. The training actually starts next week at the adjunct training session. We'll have a representative from the Sexual Assault Crisis Center training there, and there'll be training opportunities for all of us. Part of our compliance is to develop a campus resource team, and we are well on the way to that. Our campus resource team is to help us have a coordinated response to any victim. So there are representatives from the local police, the state police, from the local domestic violence center, from the sexual awareness crisis center, many faculty, a couple of students, and some counselors. And together we'll go over the policies of the board and the protocol for Three Rivers, so we do give a very coordinated response that's victim-centered. We're tasked with a lot of programming. We have to have awareness programming and prevention programming. Our awareness programming, of course, is to let students know what is classified as sexual misconduct, what they should do about it, and resources that we have available for them. The prevention program is, of course, to prevent misconduct by changing social norms, encouraging bystander intervention, and this is why I mentioned student programs. They'll be helping us with all of that training. We're required to do a climate survey in the beginning of the fall semester and then again in spring to assess how well we've done with our awareness programming. So these are all requirements of Title IX. The training programs that we have, well, first of all, our policies are listed online. They're listed in the student handbook, the faculty handbook. There are brochures and cards around that Greg Souza, our Title IX coordinator, has prepared. These brochures and information cards are in clear, concise language. They're easy to read, easy to navigate for students or staff who may need this information. Greg has also made a wonderful website which gives us all the information we need, probably even more than we need. It's very complete. It has links to all resources and information that you may want. So I think that will go live in about 1 or 2 weeks, so I recommend that you check that out. And there'll be more about Title IX as the year goes on. Thank you for your time, and have a great year.
Just a couple things from IT. First of all, I wanted to welcome back Andrew Cullen, our part-time evening support person. He's rejoining us after a couple semesters away. I also wanted to thank all of the IT and library staffs for their work over the summer in getting everything ready for the upcoming semester. One of the things, if you haven't aren't remembering, but all the labs now have Microsoft Windows version 8.1 as the operating system, and Microsoft Office 2013. I don't remember if we used 2013 last spring or not, but the President also talked about communication. The system also implemented a new emergency notification system over the summer, and we'll be using the MyComnet, the banner self-service, to update that information. Again, that's the system that'll send you text messages or emails or call your cell phone if we have any kind of emergency, or also for weather notifications, if we're going to close a college for any reason. So we'll be sending out information via email on how to update that information. All the information actually is being imported into the new system via Banner, so there's a link between the two systems. And so all the faculty and staff, you're automatically enrolled in this new notification system, and you won't have the opportunity to opt out of it. Students' information will also be imported, but they will have the ability to opt out if they decide they don't want to participate. Dr. Gargano also talked about an IT audit that the system is undergoing as part of the Transform CSCU 2020. One of the initiatives he talked about was the state-of-the-art classrooms, so we'll be involved in that project when it moves ahead. I believe it's already a funded initiative. There's several also other IT initiatives that as we get more information, we'll be sending that out and being involved as much as we can. And with that, I will turn it over to Dean Mike Lopez.
Good morning, everyone. First off, my thanks to everybody for their patience this summer with the window project. I'll touch on that in just a moment. I sent everybody an update on Friday, so if you have not seen that, please take a look and certainly come to me or Arnie De La Rosa with any questions. But again, I'll touch on that in just a minute. But for those who taught this summer, for staff who are here, my sincere thanks for the patience and my absolute appreciation and thanks to Arnie and facility staff in everything they've done this summer in managing the schedule, balancing the operations of the building against this project. I don't have time, and I don't want to bore you with the complexities of this project, but it was quite complex in juggling the summer schedule, and facilities was a key part of that. And my sincere thanks to Casey as well. The link between the academic scheduling and the operational schedule for the building was just exceptional, and we couldn't have done it without that collaboration, so my sincere thanks there. A quick welcome. Valerie Smith, if you didn't see the email, again, she came to us in February. If you haven't had a chance, Val, if you could just quickly stand up for a quick sec. Val is here to assist us with contract and compliance. She has particular expertise there, and I think has already made the rounds with many of you and is doing some exceptional work there. So she is serving in that capacity and has just been a godsend to us and is making some real inroads there. So my sincere thanks to you, Valerie. We also welcome Eric Wright, who is one of our new clerks in the cashier's window. And our welcome to you, Eric. Eric comes with some exceptional customer service background from commercial banking and the banking industry, so I think he's just going to do superbly with the cashiering function. I think he's already really enjoying the interaction with the students, so welcome to you as well, Eric, and all that you bring. Just a quick touch on the budget. Again, I pushed out some information in the late spring to bring everybody up to speed on where we projected to close for 14 and what we are looking at for 15. And certainly I come with good news that the close for 14 did go very well. We closed with a surplus, which if you looked across the system, one of the few institutes to have closed with a surplus with the decrease in enrollment for last year. So again, my thanks to divisions for their very careful use of discretionary funding, and to all of you just in maintaining the discipline that we need in looking at cost reductions and cost mitigation and really getting our hands around the budget. My sincere thanks to Gail O'Neill and our business department in particular for all of their work in managing a very, very complex budget environment. So the 14 close again went quite well. FY15 though, again, it really is going to be a year of challenges, I think. We're all paying particular attention to enrollment and where that is going. The President and Cabinet are doing a very thorough analysis and looking at other revenue sources as well, other than just credit enrollment, tuition and fees. We're looking at non-credit opportunities and so forth. So We will continue to analyze that and look at all opportunities to continue to grow revenue in both traditional and non-traditional ways for 15. Speaking of the budget, capital project for us really revolves around the auditorium at this point. The final design is just about completed. The president is reviewing and reconfirming the need for the auditorium, and she's working with cabinet as well as the building oversight committee and taking a look at the auditorium and all the complexities that will bring with the project. Again, if all goes well with that project and we stay committed to that project and the needs reconfirm that project, then we will continue to move forward on the request for proposal to start the construction of that project. The contract will be put out to bid this fall. We'll go to the bond commission in the spring for bonding of the construction funds. And then again, if the timeline stays as it is, we'll commence construction of the project sometime next summer. So again, stay tuned for that. We'll begin to re-engage with the oversight committee here shortly, and we'll keep everybody attuned as to where we're going with that particular project. Speaking of the projects, just again, another quick note on the window project. As I had mentioned in the email on Friday, just a clarification on one point. I had mentioned in the email we are 95% completed with the abatement portion of that work. Just to clarify a bit, the abatement portion was really the complex piece of that project this summer. With the abatement of the PCBs and asbestos, that is going well at this point. We had a bit of a slow start in managing that in June and July, but that is going quite well. And about 90 to 95% of the abatement piece of that project is completed. The windows are due to arrive this week. We had heard last week that either tonight or tomorrow. The word is the delivery is on the road now, anticipated to arrive here Wednesday, so we'll begin installing windows either late this week or early next week. I put out the schedule for what sections most likely will have the windows installed first, so please take a look at that again. And again, substantial completion of the project remains about the 26th of September. If I was a betting man, I think we're probably going to see maybe a 1 or 2 week delay beyond that, just to wrap up again some of the tail ends of this very complex project. But we're working very hard to limit any disturbance or disruption in the classroom. So please, again, continue to communicate with us if you're seeing something or hearing something with the project, or there's a particular area that you're teaching in, that something in the room is just not looking correct, then please continue to talk with us and we'll address those problems as they come up. But again, we're being very sensitive to preparing those rooms as best we can for the start of the academic year. So again, my thanks for your patience on that. Just to wrap up, we're looking at 2 other projects coming our way. Unfortunately, we have about 8 or 9-year-old boilers that are going to need to be replaced. They have matured quite quickly, and we're looking to execute a project to replace them with condensing boilers, and we're looking to award that contract this fall. So again, we'll keep the community abreast of that, and we're also looking to start a project for the dehumidification of this building. As all of you know who are here in the summer, the building is quite damp and quite humid in areas, so we're going to go ahead and have that set and see what we can do to improve that and the environment here. So that's about it. The final note is we have made a lot of enhancements and changes to our website for the administrative division, in finance, facilities, and HR, so there's a lot of new content there, a lot of information that we hope is going to be very helpful to you. So please take a moment and take a look at that. I think it will be very helpful to you in your daily work. So thank you very much. Next, Meg will come up and discuss some workforce and community education initiatives.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. As Mike said, I'm Tex Stroop. I'm speaking here on behalf this morning of the Workforce and Community Education Division on behalf of Associate Dean Marge Valentin. And it's been a very busy summer, and it looks like it's going to be an even busier fall. We've been working on several new initiatives, one of which Dr. Gargano addressed earlier this morning, the P-TECH initiative. which stands for Pathways in Technology, Early College High School. And the national model that President Obama touted is in Brooklyn, Connecticut, and we anticipate doing a road trip down there. This P-TECH initiative is a joint effort by State Department of Education, the Board of Regents, community colleges, and the Eastern Advanced Manufacturing Alliance, otherwise known as EMA. And Electric Boat is going to serve as our primary industry partner. So it's very exciting. We're in the early stages, and it looks like it's actually going to happen. And they're also looking at doing another model at the Quinebaug Valley Community College with EMA. There are 33 member companies, and if anybody would like more information on EMA, I do have the member maps with me stating which companies participate and then the actual physical location of where they are in the state of Connecticut. In fact, EMA just had their annual meeting this past Tuesday, elected new officers, and they're moving forward and as our advisory group. One of the other big initiatives we were working on this summer is the TACT grant, TAACCCT grant, and we've been working with the state, and it does look hopeful that they're going to receive the funding for this program, and it would allow Three Rivers to add on a sheet metal fabrication program and monies to retrofit and revamp our current manufacturing lab space. So we'll find out sometime in the month of September if it was successful, and we'll keep everybody apprised of that. I also want to just spend a minute talking about two very successful programs we had this summer in our division. The first one was the Connecticut MET grant. It stands for Manufacturing, Energy, and Transportation. And Anna Gonzalez, our Connecticut MET coordinator, it's a 300-hour program that is vetted by members of manufacturing companies. And yes, Kent, after the first year we ran the program, they said, you've got to get trig into the first, couple of weeks of your manufacturing math class. So they did everything from OSHA certification, they toured 8 different manufacturing companies, and 13 students, they were here Monday through Friday from 9 to 3:30 with a half an hour break for lunch. They had homework, they took communication skills, again, going to Dr. Gargano's point of being well-rounded students. And they toured 8 different companies. Out of the 13 who graduated August 15th, 4 of them are coming to school here at the college, 1 in computer science, the other 2 are in CAD, and the other one is in manufacturing. And also I want to thank Professor Knowles, he taught the CNC program, component of that 300-hour class. And the other program that was very successful this summer, Ellen Klein-Smith, our Allied Health Coordinator, had a week-long program. It was all day. The students did tours. It was for a veterinary assistant camp. And there were 29 high school students here for that week in August. And boy, we all learned a lot. And they actually went to different veterinary offices. And so it's a really hot topic right now. I also just want to spend a minute talking about the Electric Boat Apprenticeship Program. Marge and I had the honor of attending the graduation that EB put on for their 2013 and 2014 apprentices. There were 76 students who graduated. All 76 of those students are currently enrolled in our engineering technology programs, and there is talk of Electric Boat. We're in the very early stages of adding another apprenticeship program due to all their hiring at the moment. And I just want to wrap up with talking a little bit about, we're piloting in our division flexible online registration, because at the moment students can only register, like in person, via fax. We can't take a registration over the telephone. So all of the continuing ed departments across the state and Three Rivers has chosen to also pilot this fall. So we'll keep you posted on how it goes. So, and as we move forward, we'll keep everyone apprised as to status of the grant and where else we're going to go. So, thank you.
Good morning. Today is bigger than the start of a new semester. Today is the start of a new day. And a new day in a system of transformation requires new thinking. Sometimes knowing a lot, as we do, can get in the way of seeing, can get in the way of original thinking. So even we, I think, sometimes have to go back to get ahead. So I'm just going to take a quick minute, but this is a fun exercise to get back to original thinking. If you have a first grader in your midst, anywhere in your life, you know what I'm talking about, that fresh, open mind. So a first grade teacher collected old, well-known proverbs. She gave each child in her class the first half of a proverb and asked them to come up with the rest. Enjoy the students' responses and then complete the proverb as you probably learned it. So we're going to see how you do. So we'll come up with what the students have come up with. As you make your bed, so shall you. Okay, so not original thinking there. No, we're no longer going to be able to finish our sentences the way we used to in a transformed world. So the first graders say, as you make your bed, so shall you mess it up. Next one. Not bad. Better to be safe than sorry. Sure, makes sense, right? But in the mind of a first grader, it's better to be safe than to punch a fifth grader. Strike while the bug is close. The bug is close. Don't bite the hand that looks dirty. And lastly, an idle mind is... No. An idle mind is the best way to relax, according to a first grader. So sometimes it really is important to go back to get ahead. And in a world of transformation, guess what? We are the transformers. We're the transformers. So I want you to all get out of your seats, and I'd like you to say hello to your fellow transformers. So stand up. Say hello to your fellow transformers. Transformers. And Mary Ellen, our chief transformer, on behalf of the college, we welcome you and we greet you, and we're so happy to work with your energy, so we wanted to just present some flowers to you and say thank you to you. Take a seat. I would like to just say, as far as sayings go, we have a lot of them in the state of Connecticut. In fact, one of the sayings that we have in the state of Connecticut I've been hearing for years is this. It goes something like this. Are you ready? I like change. You go first. So I would say, we know what we are. We know who we are at Three Rivers. We are the Transformers. Let's go first. Carpe diem. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. As I was sitting here, I was thinking this is almost going to mark the first year that I've worked here at Three River. So the last year, looking back, I really think it was a year of learning and self-assessment for the institutional research office. I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that I've worked with so far, the ones who have really helped me to learn as much as I can in such a short time, and to challenge me with issues and concerns, and also to encourage me to step outside my comfort zone and get to know everybody. So now looking ahead, what I'm trying to accomplish in this coming year is to really start using the tools that I've developed last year to help assess at the institutional level, at the program level, and at the course level. So at the institutional level, I will continue to chair the institutional assessment committee that comprised of members from different divisions to really look at developing an effective way to continually assess our institution on how we're trying to achieve the mission statement. And then at the program level, I will be working with the deans to develop good metrics on assessing academic programs, as well as other individual programs such as PA 1240, such as perhaps in the student services division, how can we better use the multiple measure assessment program. And then I also encourage faculty members, those who have not yet worked with me, to start thinking about assessing course at the course level. Because of the faculty members who have come to me to seek for help or ideas on how to use data to assess the course, I really do find that it does start helping both of us to start thinking about better ways to teach and to learn. But then on the other hand, I also wanted to bring to your attention that our office is a one-person office. So, as much as I try, and for the people who have worked with me, you know that my goal is always trying to deliver either on time or ahead of time. But as we're all trying to multitask, it's best if you can help me manage my project by coming to me early. Even if you just have a vague idea of what you want to do, come talk to me and we can hash out ideas. We can really find a problem to make it more focused and clear. And then I can also tell you some of the limitations that I have, so we don't get ahead of ourselves overloading. So thank you very much, and
Thank you, Laura. Okay, quickly, I would like, especially those in the back, if you could just please quick imagine that you do not see the food that is being placed out in the center of the room. As I'm the last speaker, my name is Betty, and I'm the Director of Institutional Advancement. My office is C211, and I work with Roby Grizz. Roby, you want to stand up and say hello? And many of you know Tracy Rosie, who is over here taking photos. And one of the areas that we oversee is the College Foundation. We celebrated 40 years last year, so the College Foundation has been in existence for 41 years. It is a separate 501c3 that is governed and controlled by a local group of board of directors that represent our community hospitals, our banks, manufacturers, and other small business owners. We currently have $4.5 million under management. That number is as a result of people before me and all of you that support the Three Rivers Foundation. Many of you have heard the annual appeal. We do a campaign every year, and the faculty and staff are very supportive. And this really is an opportunity for us to gain those unrestricted dollars that help the board and the college use in areas that you may not expect that we need to use them. But I do have an exercise. I have a little gift up here. For anyone that can guess how much money this past year the foundation provided the college. Anyone just take a guess? $500,000. Who said $500,000? 1.2. Good guess. Yes, that's a great guess. 1.5. 2.1 million. Are we hearing all these numbers? Okay, one more guess. 2.3 million. We actually provided the college approximately $440,000 in support last year. And as you've been hearing, the need is much greater. And so some of the goals in institutional advancement, we are working closely with the alumni organization. So alumni relations is going to be one of the major areas that we focus on. Matt Burbine, Greg Petronic is the current president, but also all of you. I've heard today about the wonderful faculty and staff, and in the short time that I've been here, I know how important the faculty and staff are to the success of what we do. The students come here, and I'm going to be relying on you to help serve as ambassadors as we go out into the community to ask for those dollars to help sustain us. I am a proud alum of Mohegan Community College, and I am curious, I did this last year, how many of you are either a graduate of Thames Valley, Mohegan Community, or Three Rivers? If you could just stand up. So we know the importance of community college education, and so we are going to be focusing on broadening the base. We have a number of large supportive companies that believe in us. We have the faculty and staff here that believe in us, but we really need to broaden the base for sustainability so that we can ensure that there are continued opportunities for not just the students today, but in the future. And I really just want to lead with this. I was thinking about today, and over the weekend, as my children are getting ready to go back to school, I have a student, he'll be a freshman in high school, and then a sixth grader. And I really was just thinking about how fortunate I was. The American dream. When you think about the American dream, you may think about having good health. You may think about your family, of course. Having a job that can not just be a job, but be a career that you enjoy every day, that affords you the opportunities for your family. Maybe it's to own a home of your own. I had the dream, I wanted to live the American dream about 20 years ago, and I remember thinking about when I was tucking my kids in this weekend that I'm very fortunate because it was this institution that got me started. I was able to afford my education while I worked. I was able to easily get to college while I took care of the other things that I needed to, and that was really the beginning. And so the work that I do today, I love my job. I love asking people for money. I really do. A lot of people don't like to, but I really love to because I really believe in the work that all of us do, that we are helping people achieve the American dream, whatever that dream may be, and I'm living that dream, and it really started many, many years ago. I am the first one in my family to go to college, and I remember that when I graduated, nobody in my family knew until my grandmother saw my name in the paper, and I just remember thinking that all of us in this room, you were someone 20 years ago that really helped me be here today. So thank you for being here. Thank you for a wonderful program, and I do have for Dr. Gargano, here is the Three Rivers pin that I hope you will wear, as well as President Jukoski. My office, C211, we really want to partner and work with the entire faculty and staff because that's really how the foundation works. I don't make the final decisions as to how the $440,000 is distributed. There really is a process. If you want to know how the process is, you have an idea, you have a dream, talk it over with your dean. We really are looking at our strategic plan and the priorities. Those dreams and ideas go to your dean, they then go to the president. Once it gets to that point, it comes to the College Foundation Committee where we review that request, and then it goes to the board of directors. So we have a great process in place. It is open, an open door. We want to hear your ideas, and we really look forward to working hand in hand with all of you and helping Three Rivers be just not good, but great. Thank you very much.
I think Rhonda wanted to come up and make an announcement.
Thank you, President Jukoski, for letting us come up and speak. It's that time of year again, and we're raising funds for the TRCC Student Emergency Fund. And historically, we've ridden bicycles, and it's expanded, so other people have joined us, Terry being one, and his son, and Peter, I'm going to forget people, but Peter Petsoris, and Nancy and her daughter, etc. So last year, we raised $3,200 for the Student Emergency Fund. The year before that, the inaugural year, we raised $3,765. This year, we're hoping to beat that. So we thought we would do something that was a little bit more inclusive, because not everybody rides a bicycle. I don't know why I'm so short. Oh, Lord, it was long as his chest. It's kind of nice. And so this year we thought we would do hike for TRC students. So the hike day is September 20th, 2014. You can choose any mountain you like. Judy and I are going to do Okemo. Terry and Ethan are doing
Mansfield in Vermont.
Mansfield in Vermont. We're doing Okemo in Vermont. But you could do Bunker Hill. You could do the hill in your backyard. The main thing we're concerned about is raising funds. We have sponsorship. Forms Terry's going to pass around. And what you do is just anyone can sponsor you for any amount. It's not like an official sponsorship. So if you raise $5, we're happy. If you raise $500, we're elated. But so it's any time during the day, and I don't want to build a pyramid on the stand, but you guys might want to do your hike that day.
We're doing the beach cleanup.
Oh, on the same day?
Yeah.
You could like hike
I can bring that.
around the dunes. So we're also asking students, and I didn't ask Dean, I gotta talk to Dean Lopez, where is he? Because I don't know about the liability waivers, but I'll talk to him about that later. But we're also asking students to raise funds as well. And the interim dean, Christine Langen, and myself, and Jacqueline Soronin in the student programs, we know how compelling these stories are. And so, I mean, we've buried parents, we've had houses burned down, we've had people that couldn't eat. So it's really compelling and heartbreaking when you hear these stories firsthand. So we hope that maybe everyone, if you don't want to hike, will reach in your pockets and maybe give a couple bucks to the fund, and we will be able to sustain it. We do have a nice balance in there right now. We have $6,000. We're hoping to bring it to 10, so that our awards can be a little bit more generous going forward. At this point, we've kind of limited them to about $100, but there's times when the needs are so much greater and we can't help them. This is not to be confused with the foundation fund that is available for nursing and business students. This is for all the other students on campus. And this is a non-repayable fund. So historically, the only option they had when they were in financial crisis was to go and take a loan, and then their registration for the next semester was contingent on paying back that loan. This is a one-time only deal, and they don't have to pay it back. So anything you guys want to add?
They want more forms, please.
Oh yeah, if you want more forms, you can see Judy or myself, or if you want to just make a donation, you can probably get it taken one of the three of us. If you catch us, we can get it to the raise fund. Just make your check to TRCC, and we'll deposit it into the right account. Thank you so much. Thank you.
A worthy cause, so I hope you'll get 100% support by the community.
Yay, first one.
I'm the only thing that's standing in the way between lunch, but what I would just like to say is thank you all very, very much for being here. Thank you to Provost Gargano for your words of inspiration and wisdom to all of us. And to each of you, may you have a personally satisfying year and a professionally rewarding one. And remember, together we weave the fabric of our future. So have a great year, everybody, and have a delicious lunch. Thank you.